If you're an RE teacher who wants to use more art, but lacks the confidence to do so, you may be pleased to find out that you don't have to be an artist to use art effectively. Paul Hobbs is a contemporary artist who specialises in giving teachers the confidence they need to use art to teach better RE.
I think using art is a fantastic way to explore religious education. New ideas come sideways at you, and suddenly people are able to explore something very meaningful and purposeful in a surprising new way.
In this programme, we see teachers from a cross-section of London schools trialling 3 artistic techniques designed to gain a deeper level of religious understanding in pupils. The teachers are set the challenge of responding creatively to a religious text, firstly in a 3D model, then using a sketchbook, and lastly in a physical sculpture.
When I came here today, I was really anxious about using art because I'm not an artist.
I think we're all very anxious being asked to do something creative.
The thought of using art in my lessons really quite scares me, so I wanted to come here to get confidence, to get some ideas.
So we're an art specialist school, so I wanted to come along to get some ideas.
And I thought it might be quite good fun as well, and my head of department volunteered me.
The passage we're looking at is taken from Mark's Gospel, chapter 2, verses 1 to 12. As I'm reading it, try and think what ideas strike you. Are there key words? It might be a word like door or crowd or something that comes to your mind. Jesus went to Capernaum, and the news spread that he was at home. So many people came together that there was no room left. At the beginning, I read the text first. Different things will strike the hearer, and hopefully that will be a stimulus to understand that story in a new way. Jesus was preaching the message to them when 4 men arrived, carrying a paralysed man. Then to look at it, pull out some of the key themes that are there, and see how those themes could be translated into something visual. Now, would you like to point out some of the things that struck you as you heard the passage read?
I just had this sense of being really squashed and, you know, everyone pushing and shoving each other, trying to get a look at Jesus.
I sensed the sort of movement, the people coming and the toing and froing of people.
To me, it felt like a calm before the storm.
We'll start making some sort of artistic response to some of the characters in the story. We're now going to try and build a structure, and I suggest you team up with somebody else. You're just trying to sort of think, what are the barriers? I mean, if you used a spiky sort of barrier, what might that symbolise? How might that connect? All right, off you go.
And maybe something that's at the back, and maybe this is open. No?
Yeah, and then loads of different barriers.
Yeah, all the way to get to this bit here. The workshop that we did on modelling was lots of fun. I found that really good, working with a partner as well to help me get over my inhibitions of art and made me think about the story in a different way.
What I'd like you to do very briefly is actually now to tell us what you've made, what it symbolises, and how it connects with the text.
This is a barrier of blindness, so there's a closed eye on the top to show blindness. On one side we've got the Pharisees represented with black spiky paper to show that they were quite blind to who Jesus was.
So it's kind of like the physical disability, but also kind of like the spiritual disability of not being able to see who kind of Jesus was.
The modelling workshop got me thinking and understanding how the different characters were as people and how they felt. So it kind of made me look at the text in a new way that I'd never done before. I kind of empathised more with the characters. So the blackness at the front here represents the sin which the paralysed man had. The next barrier here was his physical disability, which again is dark but isn't quite as solid. And then this was his journey to get to the freedom from sin.
Well, different colours, and you're out of the box. The others have worked with boxes. You've taken a very different approach, which is great.
So you actually have inside we have a yellow ball.
Yes.
Which actually represents the sort of glow and the light. We've both used that colour to represent sort of the Jesus and his sort of the sort of light and glow of warmth that he would be giving. And then this actually represents, what do we say, the calm, the
combination,
panic,
you know, how people were feeling
chaos.
Different emotions.
Well done, everybody. I think you've done tremendous work in a short space of time. I wanted to actually step back a little bit and analyse how you felt about the process.
I think they wouldn't get it to start with. I think that it'd take a long time to get them going, and we would have to give them examples. I think once they've got going, then it'd be great.
I think for children, if there was something that they felt that attracted them, I think they could immediately start doing things. So it's starting from their comfort zone and then challenging them with the idea to move outside of that.
You know, work with the art department as well, find out what the art department are doing, and find out what, depending on what, you know, year group you're going to use this with, whereabouts they are in their knowledge of art and things as well.
And the art teacher will say, well, you could do it this other way.
Yeah.
And they might improve on the idea that you're starting with.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, it'd be great. This time we're going to be doing a much more 2D project based on a book, a sort of sketchbook. Treat the book as a series of layers. So you're starting at the front and working through to the back.
We're going to start with something that is a barrier on the first page. And on each page we're going to break down until we get to the final page when the barrier has broken down.
That's great.
Right.
Improvise. Think of ways of doing it.
The sketchbooks that we got to do, I did not understand what we were supposed to be doing at all.
Here are your books. So do come up.
But we found a sketchbook that I wanted that had lots of tracing paper in it, and it just appealed to me, and then just started to work my way through it, looking at the materials we had, and then I just got a great idea.
Several of them weren't completely confident to get started on the sketchbook, but nonetheless they all worked through that, and I think came out with some quite personal work and things that they really cared about. Angela, I think that's a particularly striking image.
Hands just can express so much, and the wire as a barrier. Yeah. And then my next barrier is the casing that we used in our model. We used the corrugated and we used this to represent an external barrier. In terms of actually putting things back into the classroom, I would be prepared to try the sketchbook, because I think it would give them a challenge in a totally different way. And suddenly there are no barriers. The dark is there, but it's actually on the goal to celebrate this person is now able to go home.
Okay, I found this really difficult task, so I thought, okay, well, I'll look at that and see what are the barriers that are stopping me from doing it. I felt quite suffocated and kind of like lack of confidence, so that's why I used the plastic bag to start with. My ability was stopping me, my ability as an artist, the fact that I wasn't an artist, so I put a big red cross. Mm-hmm. But then the last one was the fact that I'd get there in the end and I'd be successful in the end.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that quite personal thing. Which topics would you see that this could be used for in the curriculum?
We've just started teaching Buddhism at Key Stage 4, and they find it really difficult to grasp the concept of it. So something that I was thinking is you could have, nirvana at the end, say as your end page, and then, all the barriers of how people can get to that in the modern world. So
with the storybook, quite a lot of religious faith got to do with journeys. So Muhammad and Moses, you can have their journey through it, maybe the barriers that they went through to get to their end journey.
How do you imagine this in the classroom with maybe you've got, 30 kids?
I think I would find it quite difficult because they have to come to terms with maybe issues in their lives that they find it hard to deal with.
So it's a danger and a fantastic possibility. That personal aspect needs to be handled carefully and sensitively.
Maybe with year 10s, if you were exploring sort of more difficult social issues and things like that, then I think you could actually deal with it in a much more sort of deeper way. You could actually set this as a possible homework project for them to be able to choose materials and then take it away. So I think there are many ways in which you could do it.
For this next section, we're going to be using furniture and some of the other materials that we've used already and some new ones to create barriers between the viewer looking at this installation or sculpture, you might call it, and something which will be right at the back of the barrier, something pressed against the wall. You could get a table like this. You could gently, I suggest, arrange it in lots of different ways. You could tie something back and forth between the chair legs. What you need is some point of objective at the back. So we'll give you a wall space. So the group on this side could use this whiteboard. The other group use this side. Go for it.
Physical sculpture I was a bit more cynical about. The physically doing it was absolutely fine. But the interpretation, the actual what it represented and saying that was going to be more difficult.
Any use? It's a net.
The net that he came down on, maybe, that's just over encompassed it all.
Oh, right, hanging down.
Or we have it that just covers
Just
the
over
whole
here.
thing.
I was pleased to see how well they found the materials gave them ideas themselves, which is always the way. If you get stuck, well, look at the materials.
Okay, if I was to do the building task in the classroom, I think I'd have to really prepare for it and get some ideas on paper for them and look into the different things they could use and maybe use bodies first and then go on to objects.
What is your barrier? What are you going to do with this top part?
This is kind of like the literal barrier of like the man getting from the roof down into where Jesus was, and this is kind of the chaos that was happening below with all the chairs all funny, and then we're going to have like the net that goes over us as well as like the sin, which is the barrier for us, like original sin is like trying to get to
How are you going
God.
to fix that then?
We were just going to throw the net
We're going
over
to throw the
us.
net over us.
We were actually going to be in.
Oh, you're actually going to be in it?
We're going to be in.
Oh, excellent. That's great.
Getting children to work together and to work with different people, it's not always something that children do very readily. The sort of activities that we were doing today would enable that to happen.
You're only
It's
light.
going to get caught in my hair.
I think you would see some interesting outcomes from it and some different friendships.
I just threw that over.
Do we get a Turner Prize for this? I think so.
You might. Well done, folks. You worked tremendously well. Who wants to talk about the barriers here and what they symbolise?
The actual table that we're standing on is the physical barrier of when the sick man was lowered through the roof. The chairs are all kind of the chaos and all that kind of stuff that happened. The netting is like original sin, and then the white string is like our personal sin that we all kind of enwrap ourselves in.
So it's trapped in
Trapped
sin
in,
of
yeah,
different
yeah.
kinds. Well, collective and personal.
Yeah.
Scary stuff. So you need to get out of it. So, quite a different piece, a lot more sort of detail, but you're not actually in it.
The bottom is the barrier of the crowd, and this bit here, this tape, is meant to be like a no entry kind of sign.
These are all the barriers that you have to go to get to when you're questioning your faith.
Why did you use yellow in that way?
It signifies the light of Christ.
Okay, so there is a way. There is a way through somewhere, which opens up.
You actually, if you're prepared to battle and get through, there is light at the end.
Right at the end, brilliant. Today, I think people went through a few pain barriers, just say, "Oh, I can do that. It wasn't as bad as I thought." It's been great seeing the colour that you've brought to this project, really, and the imaginations and things there. So thank you for giving of yourselves, and I hope that when you do this with children in different classes, they'll get the same out of it that I think you've got out of it today. Hope you will.
By the end of the day, the inhibitions were gone. There was more understanding there of what was being asked of us as well, and I definitely had come out of my comfort zone.
I think we did come together as a group, seeing that this was a valuable workshop.
I think there are major things that we could take back into the classroom.
I'll use these activities with barriers when we do prejudice and discrimination in my RE and in my citizenship teaching.
It's good that these ideas are things that you can use across all the age ranges, across the whole curriculum as well. So yeah, I'll definitely use them a lot.
More confident artist now?
I think so, yeah, just about. Yeah.